The first warning sign came when I opened my drawer and found the envelope of cash gone. It wasn't just a little missing. Every single dollar I had saved for the summer tech camp was gone. At first, I thought I'd misplaced it. Maybe I'd put it somewhere else, distracted by the chaos of final exams. But no amount of searching revealed it, and by the end of the afternoon I was sweating. That night at dinner, Jessica was unusually chipper, dressed like she was heading to a photo shoot. A fresh manicure, new shoes, and the faint scent of an expensive perfume I didn't recognize. She was scrolling through her phone, occasionally tilting it to show Mom something that made them both giggle. Meanwhile, I sat there, pushing peas around my plate, trying to summon the courage to ask, "Hey, has anyone been in my room recently?" I asked, my voice deliberately casual. Mom glanced up from her plate, eyebrows raised. "Why would we be in your room?" Jessica didn't look up from her phone. "Ew, no. Why would I go in there? It smells like boy socks." "I'm serious," I said, leaning forward. "I'm missing some money." That got Jessica's attention. She put her phone down, her lips curling into a smirk. "What money?" $5,000, I said flatly. "I've been saving for tech camp, and now it's gone." Jessica blinked, her expression shifting from amused to defensive. "Why would you keep that much cash in your room? That's dumb." "Jessica," Mom cut in sharply, "don't call your brother dumb." I could feel the heat rising in my chest. "I know I didn't lose it, and I'm pretty sure someone took it." "Oh, come on," Jessica said, rolling her eyes. "You think I took your money? What would I even do with $5,000? I gestured at her. "I don't know, Jess, but you look like you've been on a shopping spree. New clothes, new nails, new everything." Jessica's face turned pink, but she shot back. "It's called having a job, Liam. Something you might not understand." "That's enough," Mom snapped, glaring at both of us. "Jessica, did you take his money?" "Of course not," Jessica exclaimed, looking genuinely offended. "I can't believe you'd even ask me that." Mom turned to me, her face softening. "Liam, are you sure you didn't misplace it?" "I didn't misplace it," I said firmly. "It's gone." Mom sighed and put her fork down. "Well, I'll check your room later. Maybe it slipped behind the dresser or something. But let's not start pointing fingers." Jessica huffed and picked up her phone again. "Whatever. I'm not a thief." The conversation ended there, but the pit in my stomach only grew. I knew she was lying, but how was I going to prove it? 2 days later, the situation escalated. I'd spent the entire time racking my brain, trying to figure out what to do. I had no proof Jessica took the money, but I also couldn't just let it go. Then, as I walked past her room that afternoon, I overheard her talking on the phone. "No, I told you, I've got it covered," she was saying, her voice low and hurried. "Yeah, I got the money. No, he has no idea." I froze, my heart hammering. She was talking about me. She had to be. I crept closer, trying to hear more, but the floor creaked under my weight. Jessica went silent for a second, then barked, "Hold on." The door flew open, and there she was, glaring at me with her phone still pressed to her ear. "What the hell are you doing?" I stammered, trying to think of an excuse. I was just eavesdropping. Seriously, Liam? Get a life." She slammed the door in my face. I stormed back to my room, fuming. That phone call was all the confirmation I needed, but it still wasn't enough to confront her or Mom. I needed proof, real proof, and I knew just who to call. My cousin Ethan was the type of person who thrived on chaos. He'd been kicked out of 2 schools for hacking into their systems and had once run a surprisingly successful fake ID operation from his parents' basement. He wasn't exactly a role model, but he was smart, and he owed me a favor. When I showed up at his garage that evening, Ethan was dismantling an old laptop with a screwdriver. He grinned when he saw me. Well, if it isn't the golden child. What brings you to my humble lair?" "I need your help," I said, sitting on the edge of the workbench. "Jessica stole my money." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "What, like $5 for a frappuccino?" "No, 5,000. All of it." His eyes widened. "Damn, That's low even for her. I need proof, I said. Can you hack her phone? Ethan smirked. You know I can. But if she catches on, it's your ass on the line, not mine. Fine, I said. Just do it. The next day, Ethan sent me a screenshot of Jessica's messages. One in particular stood out. A text from someone named Travis D. Got the cash. Let's meet tonight. Same place as before. I forwarded the screenshot to Ethan. Who's Travis D? No clue, he replied. But we can find out. That night, Ethan and I parked outside a dive bar on the edge of town. Jessica's car was already there, along with a lime green sports car that screamed, drug dealer. We waited in silence, the tension between us thick as syrup. Finally, Jessica came out, laughing as she leaned on the arm of a heavily tattooed guy. That's Travis? Ethan whispered, snapping a picture. And I don't like the look of him. Neither did I. As they got into the sports car and drove off, I turned to Ethan. Follow them. He grinned. You got it. The sports car led us to a warehouse on the outskirts of town. We parked a block away and crept closer on foot, staying low to the ground. From a distance, we watched as Travis unlocked a storage unit and started unloading boxes with Jessica's help. What do you think's in there? I whispered. Drugs, maybe? Or stolen goods? Ethan shook his head. Whatever it is, it's big. We stayed hidden until Travis and Jessica left. Then Ethan pulled a crowbar out of his backpack and grinned. Let's see what our dear cousin is up to. My stomach twisted as we approached the storage unit. I had no idea what we were about to uncover, but I knew it was going to change everything. Ethan pried the lock open with a low, metallic groan. My heart raced as we swung the door up, revealing a chaotic jumble of boxes, crates, and duffel bags piled inside. The faint smell of dust and oil lingered in the air. Ethan flicked on his phone's flashlight, the narrow beam cutting through the darkness. All right, he said, stepping inside. Let's see what secrets your sister's been keeping. The first box he opened was stuffed with wads of cash wrapped in rubber bands. My jaw dropped. How much do you think that is? Ethan grinned. A lot more than your $5,000. Where the hell did this come from? I asked, feeling a mix of disbelief and panic. Who knows? Could be dirty money, could be stolen, Ethan said. He moved to a duffel bag and unzipped it, revealing dozens of small plastic bags filled with white powder. He let out a low whistle. And that answers that. She's in deep. Drugs? I hissed, stepping back as if the duffel bag might explode. Are you serious? Ethan nodded grimly. Travis isn't just some guy she's hanging out with. He's her supplier or handler or whatever you call it. And she's running this with him. My stomach turned. Jessica wasn't just a thief. She was involved in something that could get her arrested or worse. And somehow I was now tangled up in it too. We have to go, I said, backing toward the door. If they come back. Relax, Ethan said, snapping pictures of the stash with his phone. This is evidence, man. You need it if you want to blow her cover. Evidence for what? I snapped. You think Mom's going to look at this and say, "Oh, Liam, great job investigating your sister's criminal empire"? She's just going to call me paranoid again. Then we don't tell your mom, Ethan said, zipping up the bag. We go straight to the cops. I hesitated, the words sticking in my throat. Turning Jessica in felt extreme, even after everything she'd done. There has to be another way. Ethan sighed, stuffing his phone back into his pocket. Look, I get it. She's your sister, and this is messy. But if we don't do something, she's going to drag you and your mom down with her. I hated that he was right. But before I could respond, the sound of an engine revving made both of us freeze. Headlights swept across the lot, and my stomach dropped. They're back. Crap, Ethan muttered, yanking the storage unit's door back down. Run. We bolted around the side of the building, ducking into the shadows as the lime green sports car screeched to a halt in front of the unit. Travis got out first, his head swiveling as he scanned the area. Jessica followed, her heels clicking against the pavement. Something's off, Travis said, his voice low and tense. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a gun. My heart nearly stopped. Ethan grabbed my arm and pulled me further into the shadows. "Stay quiet," he whispered. We watched as Travis approached the unit, his gun raised. Jessica trailed behind him, glancing nervously over her shoulder. "You think someone's been here?" she asked. Travis didn't answer. He lifted the door, his flashlight sweeping over the contents inside. For a moment, I thought he might notice the slightly disturbed pile of boxes, but he seemed satisfied and lowered the door again. "Let's grab what we need and get out of here," he said, motioning for Jessica to help. As they worked, Ethan and I slipped away, hearts pounding as we sprinted back to his car. We didn't say a word until we were back on the highway, the city lights blurring past us. "We need a new plan," Ethan said finally, his voice tight. "This is bigger than I thought." "No kidding," I said, trying to catch my breath. "What the hell are we supposed to do now?" The next morning, I woke up to find Mom pacing the living room, her phone clutched tightly in her hand. She looked up when she saw me, her face pale and drawn. "Jessica didn't come home last night," she said. "I've been trying to call her, but she's not answering." I hesitated, debating whether to tell her what I knew. But before I could decide, the front door swung open, and Jessica walked in, looking disheveled and on edge. Her makeup was smudged, and there was a small tear in the sleeve of her jacket. "Where have you been?" Mom demanded, rushing to her. "Out," Jessica said flatly, brushing past her. "Out where?" Mom pressed. "Do you know how worried I was?" Jessica sighed dramatically. "I'm fine, okay? Can we not make this a big deal?" Mom looked at her like she wanted to push further, but eventually she just sighed and sat back down. Jessica shot me a glare before retreating to her room, slamming the door behind her. Ethan texted me a few hours later. "You still want to handle this yourself? Or are we calling the cops?" I stared at the message, my mind racing. Jessica was hiding something dangerous, but turning her in felt like crossing a line I wasn't sure I could handle. I typed out a reply, "Not yet. Let me try something first." That evening, I knocked on Jessica's door. She opened it just enough to glare at me. "What do you want?" "To talk," I said. She rolled her eyes. "We have nothing to talk about." "Jessica, I know," I said, keeping my voice low. "I know about Travis. I know about the money. And I know about the drugs." Her face went pale, and for a second, I thought she might deny it. But instead, she pulled me into her room and shut the door behind me. "How do you know?" she whispered, her voice shaking. "It doesn't matter," I said. "What matters is that you're in way over your head." Jessica sank onto her bed, burying her face in her hands. "You don't understand," she said. "I didn't have a choice." "There's always a choice," I shot back. "You chose to steal from me. You chose to get involved with a guy like Travis. And now you're dragging this family into your mess." She looked up at me, her eyes red. "He's not going to let me walk away, Liam. You don't know what he's capable of." "Then let me help you," I said. "We can go to the cops together. Tell them everything." Jessica shook her head frantically. "No. If I talk, he'll come after all of us. You, me, Mom, everyone." Her words sent a chill down my spine. I wanted to believe I could fix this, but the fear in her voice was real. This wasn't just about stolen money anymore. This was life or death. "I need time to think," I said, heading for the door. "Liam," Jessica called after me, her voice small. "Please, don't do anything stupid." But as I walked back to my room, my phone buzzing with another message from Ethan, I realized I was already in too deep to play it safe. I barely slept that night, replaying Jessica's desperate words in my head. Travis wasn't just some bad influence. He was dangerous, and Jessica was tangled in his web. She was terrified, and for good reason. But if I didn't act, this whole situation would spiral out of control. The next morning, Ethan and I met at a coffee shop across town. He had printed out the photos we'd taken at the warehouse and was reviewing them with a critical eye. "We've got more than enough to take to the police," he said, sliding a stack of images across the table. I shook my head. "Jessica won't talk. She's scared Travis will come after us. Ethan frowned, leaning back in his chair. That's not an unreasonable fear, but you can't just sit on this. If Travis finds out we've been snooping, he might come after us anyway. I stared at the pictures, the weight of the decision pressing on my chest. There has to be another way. Ethan sighed. All right, what if we scare her into doing the right thing? Show her what's at stake. I hesitated, unsure. What do you mean? Leverage, Ethan said, his voice low. We threaten to blow her cover unless she agrees to help us take Travis down. It's risky, but it might push her to cooperate. I thought about it. Jessica wasn't the type to respond well to threats, but I didn't have a better plan. Let's do it. We spent the rest of the day putting the plan together. Ethan created a fake police report, complete with a fabricated warrant for Jessica's arrest. It was just convincing enough to make her believe the walls were closing in. That evening, I found Jessica in her room, sitting on the floor with her knees pulled to her chest. She looked up as I entered, her eyes tired and wary. What now? She asked. I closed the door behind me and handed her the fake report. You're out of time, Jess. They're on to you. She scanned the paper, her hands shaking. Where did you get this? It doesn't matter, I said. What matters is that Travis isn't worth your life. If you don't come clean, it's over. Jessica's face crumpled, and she let out a shaky breath. You don't understand, Liam. Travis doesn't just let people walk away. If I talk, I'm dead. Not if we do it the right way, I said. The cops can protect you, but you have to give them something they can use. For a moment, she didn't say anything. Then she whispered, He knows about you. My stomach twisted. What? He knows you've been following us, she said. He saw your car the other night. He thinks you're a threat. I felt the blood drain from my face. Why didn't you tell me? Because I thought I could handle it, she said, her voice breaking. But I can't. The fear in her eyes was real, and it hit me harder than I expected. Jess, I said gently, you don't have to do this alone. We can fix this. Together. Her eyes filled with tears, and for the first time in years, she looked like the sister I used to know. What do you want me to do? The next day, Jessica agreed to meet with Travis under the guise of a routine drop-off. Ethan and I coordinated with the police, providing them with everything we had. The photos, the texts, and Jessica's testimony. They assured us they'd be ready to move in as soon as the deal went down. The plan was simple. Jessica would lead Travis to a predetermined location, and the cops would take it from there. But as we waited in a nearby parking lot, watching from a distance, my nerves were shot. Every second felt like an eternity. There, Ethan said, pointing to the entrance of the lot. Travis's lime green sports car pulled in, Jessica in the passenger seat. They parked near a storage container, and Travis stepped out, scanning the area. Let's hope your sister doesn't get cold feet, Ethan muttered. Jessica climbed out of the car, her movements stiff and cautious. She opened the trunk, pulling out one of the duffel bags from the warehouse. Travis said something to her, his tone sharp enough to make her flinch. I gripped the edge of the dashboard, my heart pounding. Why haven't the cops moved in yet? Relax, Ethan said. They're waiting for the right moment. That moment came when Travis opened the duffel bag, revealing its contents. For police cars swarmed the lot, their lights flashing. Officers jumped out, guns drawn, shouting for Travis to get on the ground. For a second, it looked like he might run. But then he dropped to his knees, his hands raised. Jessica stood frozen, her face pale, as the officers cuffed Travis and led him away. Holy crap, Ethan said, letting out a breath he'd been holding. They actually got him. We watched as an officer approached Jessica, speaking to her in low tones. She nodded, her hands trembling, and climbed into the back of a police car. She's going with them? I asked, my voice tight. They need her statement, Ethan said. Relax. She'll be fine. But I couldn't relax. Not yet. It was hours before Jessica came home. Mom and I were sitting in the living room when the door opened, and she walked in, looking drained but relieved. What happened? Mom asked, rushing to her. Are you okay? Jessica nodded. It's over. Travis is in custody. They said I'll probably get a deal if I cooperate. Mom looked like she didn't know whether to cry or scream. Jessica, how could you get involved in something like this? Jessica glanced at me, then back at Mom. I made a mistake. A lot of mistakes. But Liam helped me fix it. Mom turned to me, her eyes filled with a mix of gratitude and guilt. I'm so sorry, Liam, for not believing you, for everything. I nodded, my throat tight. It's okay. Just, let's not let this happen again. The weeks that followed were tense. Jessica's cooperation earned her probation, and she started going to therapy. Mom worked hard to repair the damage her favoritism had caused, and for the first time in a long time, our family felt like it might heal. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. And for now, that was enough. Thanks for watching. What would you do in Liam's shoes? Drop a comment below and subscribe for more gripping stories.